The story begins in the late 1960s on Chicago's west side when a Vice Lord faction called the Harlem Mafia Vice Lords were formed. The Harlem was used to signify that the HMVLs were from a predominantly black neighborhood. The branch was formed by Lord Casper. This particular branch held very strong black power beliefs and distanced themselves from other races. Sometime in the 1970s, the HMVLs adopted a second name called the Ebony Vice Lords. Both names were accepted, but they were primarily known as the Ebony Vice Lords or EVLs. In the early 1980s, the Vice Lord Nation adopted a new doctrine developed by the new leader of the whole Vice Lord Nation, Willie Johnson aka Minister Rico, that allowed whites and Hispanics and other races into CVL and other branches of VL. Lord Casper and the EVLs were upset by this new doctrine and heavily objected to it. As a result of Lord Casper's rejection, he began to heavily associate with El Rookins, who were still a black power group at the time. Within a very short time, within the early 1980s, Lord Casper broke the EVLs out of the Vice Lord Nation and instead assimilated them into the El Rookin Nation, mainly under Jeff Fort's Black Stone Brick within the 21 Brick Pyramid. The EVLs then changed their name to Gangster Stone Vice Lords or GSVL. However, they were no longer a Vice Lord branch, but instead Lord Casper kept the Vice Lord name, though they were not Vice Lords anymore. About 3 years later, Lord Casper was kidnapped and killed by unknown Vice Lord gang members. The GSVLs then appointed a new leader, Henry Brown, to take over GSVL operations. The GSVLs continue to be an active presence in Chicago throughout the rest of the 1980s as they continue to war with the Black Gangster Disciples, or the GDs. Even though the GSVL used the word gangster in their name, they had nothing to do with GDs. Nevertheless, GDs were infuriated over the GSVL use of the word gangster, and it caused further gang wars between El Rookins and BGDs. Because of this heavy disagreement over GSVL name, the top generals within the BPSN ordered the GSVLs to drop the gangster from their name in the early 90s. The GSVL then severely dissolved after losing their name. Some members flipped to other BPS factions while others went back to VL factions. It is said that some resurrected the Ebony Vice Lord branch that may still be slightly active on the streets. Mostly EVLs are in prison, and that is where the EVLs are active mostly. All throughout the 1980s, law enforcement and the Chicago Crime Commission have mistaken the GSVL for a Vice Lord branch, even though their roads are from VL. The Vice Lord in the name was just a name and not a declaration of Vice Lord affiliation.